Is Squad Busters a game that's truly worth your time and attention, and should you check it out? Well, in this video, I'm going to share the things I like, the things I don't like, and give you an overall sense of the game based on my experience having logged hundreds of hours pushing rank. I've made it all the way into the top 50 at peak, and I battle regularly against the #1 ranked player in the world, and yes, he is very good. Now, just for context, I've also played other games very competitively, games you may have heard of, like of course Hearthstone to a legend rank, WoW to a gladiator title. You get the idea. So let's start with just what is Squad Busters anyways. It is a 10-player battle royale where your goal is either to collect more gems than your enemies or to be the last player standing. And you accomplish this by drafting a squad of iconic Supercell characters to handle both PvE and PvP objectives. Now, just from that one sentence, you kind of understand why it is that this is the first global Supercell launch in 6 years or so, because there's a lot of buzzwords in there. I mentioned Battle Royale, I mentioned drafting, there is PvE, there is PvP, oh, and there is collection across the entire Supercell universe of very iconic characters. So once we start to put it like that, it's like, oh yeah, this formula, we can see why Supercell made this game global. And by the way, the controls for this game are incredibly simple, which I think is very intentional, but also is a major point of criticism. These controls are so simple that critics have refer to this game as a walking simulator. And in some ways, this is actually very true. You don't control the individual units in your squad, you just draft them. And each unit has its own behaviors, the things that they do, and you simply position your squad somewhere, and then your characters go off and they do the things that they do, whether it's chopping trees, doing healing, or doing damage up close, or blasting from a distance. When you're moving, you are not attacking. When you stand still, your characters go about their business doing the things that they do. Now, in addition to movement, you have several options. There's also a turbo button, which makes you move and attack faster. There's also a spell slot that you get, and if you find a spell on the map, you can unleash some very devastating effects that, when deployed correctly, can absolutely sway a fight in your favor. The final tool that's in your kit is the battle bag, and the battle bag is where all your pay-to-win consumables live. You can also obtain some of these free to play, and they are very powerful. The consumables in your battle bag will range from drafting a single unit to your squad for free, or drafting a fused unit to your squad, which we'll talk about in just a second because this is an important part of the strategy of the game. To add units to your squad, you need to collect coins. There's a bunch of ways that you can do that, but once you have enough coins, you'll take them to a chest and you will get 3 draft options to bring them into your squad. If you collect 3 of the exact same unit into your squad, then you will get a fusion of that unit. It merges into one unit that has more damage and more health than any one of the original units. It's about 2x the damage boost and 3x the hit points, which is really valuable for a number of reasons. First of all, it's going to lower your squad cost to recruit more units. Every unit you add to your squad increases the coin cost for adding another unit. Well, when you do a fusion, you're adding more power to your squad without adding more units. This makes your draft cost stay low, which is really good. In addition, one way that fights often get swung to one side or another is you start attacking other people's units. When you do that, they sort of bust and they drop a bunch of your hard-earned gems onto the ground. To have units that are harder to bust in your squad makes it so you're more likely to win fights, more likely to be intimidating, even just visually, to an enemy, and less likely to get ambushed and lose a bunch of gems. Now, the units that you draft into your squad fall into several broad categories. You, of course, have defenders that are there to soak lots of damage. You have high damage dealers, DPS, and that ranges from DPS with utility to just pure freaking damage. You've got speedsters that make you move fast and give you options for that. You have suppliers, which have very compelling ways to build economy and give you alternate win conditions like chopping trees, plucking carrots, or finding treasure. And you also have healers that allow you to recover. Now, each unit in your squad is going to have a hit point number and a DPS number, which is actually really simple, although units have different attack speeds and there is a lot of nuance to the way these attacks work. Anytime the hit points of a unit in your squad is reduced to 0, it's going to bust, dropping gems as I mentioned earlier. And if all of the units in your squad are busted, then your squad is busted and you are eliminated from the match. But the good news is that matches are only about 5 minutes long. So once a match ends, if you queued up with what's called a chest ticket, then you are going to get rewards. These rewards include some number of units that you'll get to add to your collection, which I think we should talk about now. In this game, you're unlocking new draftable units, as I mentioned, iconic characters from the Supercell universe. At the time of this recording, there are 27 different draftable units across 3 different rarities: common, rare, and uncommon. Regardless of the rarity, you can improve a unit's quality and effectiveness in battle by starring it up, which is called evolutions or evolving. The base unit that you can collect is called a baby. So weirdly enough, in this game, the unit of measure is babies. You get 1 baby and you've then unlocked the unit. You can draft it to your squad. Once you get 10 babies, you can now evolve to have 1 classic unit. When you have 10 classics, you can evolve to have 1 super unit. And when you have 10 supers, you can evolve to have 1 ultra unit, which at the time of this recording includes the full range of what's available, although there is a coming soon section, so who knows if they'll add 5 stars or other ways to make these characters more punchy, but there certainly is some other tricks still up their sleeve. So as I mentioned, you open these chest tickets to get rewards. The reward includes some number of baby units, and the quality of that chest ultimately is influenced by the number of taps that you get on the chest. So every time you tap a chest, you have a chance to either get more units from the pull, more babies, or you have a chance to increase the rarity. And sometimes you get like what's called a super big upgrade, and you'll get a whole bunch of extra baby units from the chest. So the better you place and the longer you've been in a win spree, the more taps you get on your chests at the end of battles, which means you're getting better loot. But the other way to go and progress your squad is to just buy it all in the shop. My calculations, if you wanted to go and max out an account, which at the time of this recording is taking everything to the ultra tier, it would run you about $2,500, and I made a dedicated video explaining all of that because we actually know the cost to refresh the shop, the cost per unit, and it's pretty straightforward to go and calculate approximately what that would be. Now, this might sound a little bit weird, but I do play a lot of mobile games. The game that I play that you've almost certainly seen a commercial for on my other channel is called Rise of Kingdoms. I've got 230,000 subscribers over there. And by the way, consider subscribing. You're on my dedicated Squad Busters channel, where I make daily videos about Squad Busters and help you get value and hopefully smash your enemies, all right? But I'm used to Rise of Kingdoms spending, where you could spend $15,000, $25,000 to work toward maxing account, and like you're still not even close to maxing, which is crazy. I'm not saying that Squad Busters is cheap. I'm just pointing out that for perspective, I think the developers have very intentionally left a much lower threshold for maxing out an account. Now, while we're on the topic of pay to win, let's talk about megas. Megas are super powerful versions of regular troops, but they are different. So the way a mega works is that there's a very small chance when you open a chest, you can instead recruit a mega. The mega is more powerful than a fused version of that same unit, typically, and they'll have really cool effects, like the Super Chicken gives you a bunch of speed boots, and there's so much more. But like I mentioned, this is a consumable, so you don't actually collect this unit and star it up like you do all the other units that we've been talking about up till this moment. The way that a mega works is you just basically have a token of it, and if you summon it, it eats up one of your tokens. Now, originally, this was a big issue for balance, and I literally had a video where I was running around yelling pay to win, summoning megas, and it was very funny. But like, the developers heard the feedback and toned megas back so much. Like, I have literally, since the developers made the change to make megas more of a comeback mechanic, I have literally not one time been offered a mega, and I don't even know why I have them in my collection anymore. So megas went from a frequently available pay-to-win option to a comeback mechanic that you can recruit megas now from the Battle Pass free to play. It's called the Gem Pass. So I actually feel very good about that change the developers made, even though like megas were kind of a cool part of the game and now they're very much almost non-existent other than like a game modifier that lets you start with a mega. The point I'm trying to make here is that it is actually a very good sign that the developers heard player feedback, made a change, and it actually shifted the direction of the game to be less pay to win. At the end of the day, I do expect megas to be rebalanced yet again, but what is all of this for anyways? As of right now, the end game is trophies. Okay, and as you get achievements in your book and you evolve up your units, you'll advance your portal energy until you ultimately make your way to the squad league. But before you get there, you're going to unlock new worlds, you're going to unlock new game modifiers, which give you alternate objectives during a game and alternate game mechanics, which are very fun. You also earn the possibility of unlocking new units. You don't just get the new units when you get to a new world, but you earn the option of then being able to unlock those units, okay? And unlocking units, for what it's worth, is a very rare occurrence. There are things that will guarantee that you get a unit from your squad journey, but for the most part, you're either going to spend some amount of gold or you're going to open a ton of chests and eventually maybe get like one new unit after a ton of chests. So the collection in this game, if you aren't paying money, is going to take a long time, although you can earn gold and hold on to that gold free to play. So if you do want to guarantee an unlock, that's something you can work toward. Obviously, there's still a lot that can be added into this game, and some number of people have been very critical in saying that this game is a shell of what it ought to be. There isn't very much here. And I imagine the developers are going to add other gameplay options, like maybe clans, team-based game modes, maybe some sort of raid bosses if there are clans. But where am I at overall with this game? There's really no denying the presence of pay to win, from keys, and there's even also dice that you can use to re-roll your 3 draft choices once per chest that you open. And, you know, all other things equal, the player keying more is favored to win. But that said, skill plays a huge role in this game. I've been in matches where I'm using the strongest key available and I get out-muscled, I get outmaneuvered, and I get teamed up on. And sometimes that just happens. Knowing what to draft makes a huge difference in terms of the quality of your squad. And also, you could be outplaying your enemies so well, and then someone just third parties you, basically ambushes you from behind, busts up a bunch of your squad, and that's just GG. Like, you could be playing like a genius, but in a battle royale, like, someone else can just roll up and completely set you back down and even knock you out of the top 5. I guess what I'm trying to say is that in a lobby with 10 equally skilled players, only one can get first place. And if matchmaking actually puts 10 equally skilled players into that lobby, chances are you won't be getting first most games. And if you're up against people that are using keys, they're going to have an edge against you unless you do something really sneaky. The most common feedback that I've been seeing in the comments of my videos, and I really appreciate every single comment, so thank you for dropping a ton of really insightful feedback on all of my videos. But the biggest thing I've seen is that the game might be too simple. I suspect that there are going to be buildings they add to your plaza, that's sort of the main area that you look at in the game when you're not in a match, that could add options that are more than cosmetic. Right now, we only have cosmetics. But I think perhaps the most telling thing about the potential of this game and the future of this game is the fact that within a month of the game being in a regional launch state, so before the game was even global, the developers, as I mentioned, heard player feedback, put in a balance change, and reduced the amount of pay to win. Do I think there's still more to do with this game? Of course there is. The game is still really new. But is it really promising that the first things the sort of developers did was reduce pay to win? Yes. That is actually really cool. If Supercell can truly improve this game month over month, year over year, I think we're gonna have a banger on our hands, man. But with that said, I'll say that my experience with most mobile games is that the developers instead go the opposite direction. They do whatever they think is right rather than listening to players. They add more pay to win and more pay to win until a bunch of people attrition off, until ultimately the only people left are the ones that will just tolerate endless amounts of pay to win being added into the game. At that point, all you have left is the hardcore fans that are basically in it no matter what, and the developers can do whatever they want with the game at that point. It almost doesn't even matter, which is a bummer, by the way, when a game gets to that state. So my hope is that Supercell will go in the opposite direction. listen to player feedback, incrementally improve, and the improvements don't even need to be massive, but if truly month over month they add something cool, I think this game is going to go in a really cool direction. Of course, if you really want to see what the game is like and the emotions associated with playing, I am pretty emotive in my streams, all right? So you can also just watch a highlight vid if you just want some of the top moments. I'll have a card in the end screen for that if you want to check it out. At the end of the day, I started playing this game just to see what it was like, and I found myself playing hours on end. And day after day, I kept wanting to do that until I realized I need to start making videos about this game because I'm putting way too much time into it. And so if I want to justify doing this as a content creator, I gotta have a channel, I gotta be streaming it, I gotta be doing more. And I am enjoying it still just as much now as I did when I first picked it up. And that is also really promising. So if you want to drop by a live stream and make sure you don't miss it, consider smashing that subscribe button. I'm here on YouTube and also on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chisgule. And you can also join my Discord server, discord.gg/Chisgule, where we got over 40,000 people chilling. Some are talking about other games, but we've got a new Squad Busters section, and that's growing pretty quickly. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Check the cards in the end screen for more Squad Busters content. I think you'll really enjoy. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Good luck, everybody.